Hi, this is Ryan from Cannabis, the so-called pundit, propagandist, and self-promotionalist. Just checking in, because a lot of things have changed in Washington. My heart's still in Washington, and I hope to see them succeed with this legalization movement with Initiative 1149. There's a huge momentum increasing, so everybody get to it, sign it. If you need to find a place to sign it, go to sensiblewashington.org, or you can go to www.i1149.com. But here's the thing: a lot of things have changed with this medical bill that keeps getting brought up, and I have received a lot of resistance just because I complain about it. Now, my personal philosophy is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Other people seem to think, well, let's just support whatever the legislature does so that they're gracious to us. I don't support the legislature, not at all, not at all. I see what they're trying to do. I listened to the hearings all the way through this, all the way from back in January till now, and even Senator Jean Cowell, which I believe, or Jeannie Cowell, I believe, is got some of the right intentions, but she's going along with her other colleagues and saying, hey, let's scale back the prosperity and proficiency of these dispensaries. They're proliferating everywhere. We need to stop that. We need to rein them back. And when they had these hearings, I heard all of them talking about that. And about doctors, about how they're prescribing too much cannabis to people, or too many people cannabis. And before, it was Section 301 that was having the problem with the doctor-patient relationship. It was saying, like our current, let's just make a comparison. Our current medical marijuana laws that the people passed in 98 says in Section 69.51A030, it's saying that the doctors are exempt from the law, period. That's it. I mean, it's not complicated. They're just exempt from the law. I heard Allison Holcomb say that, it makes better definition of that the doctors are protected from the law in this new wording, but that's not true. It's saying that the doctors are protected if they comply with this, and this, and if they don't do that, that, and that. But before, that wasn't the case. That was not at all a concern. But now that is a concern because that's what they're trying to introduce. So, this last one, okay, we went through SB 5073. That was bad from the get go. And I rejected these groups like the CDC, the WCA, and all these others, the ACLU, that were in favor of it without any complaints from the beginning. I mean, the CDC, to their credit, came out with some complaints in March, but a little bit in February, but mostly in March and April. But in January and February, not much at all. They were just supporting it. That was it. I went to their meetings. Went to a meeting on, what was it, January 18th. Went to a bunch of meetings and heard them giving all the praises and glory to this bill, which was horrible. And so I made some enemies here. I made some enemies there. The ASA, the Americans for Safe Access, they're coming in and telling everybody, hey, come to our rallies, but don't talk about full legalization. I complained about their tactics, and I also complained about the way that Donna Lambert's been treated by them in San Diego. So I've been making a lot of friends in the movement, but I feel like the squeaky wheel gets the grease. It's not about personalities. I'm not trying to attack anybody personally. You wouldn't believe the attacks I have gotten thrown at me personally for my rejection of this support for these bills. I've had threats that I've documented with video on Facebook. Got my little video camera that you're seeing right here, and videotaped it. And I couldn't believe it. These are people that I've donated items to help the cause, donated promotional gear and things to raise money with and to, give to volunteers. And then they're threatening me because I say that the ASA has the, wrong intentions if they're trying to hold back full legalization. Because I think that's the only way to treat this herb, this plant, this safe and non-toxic medicine or herb. I mean, really, it's not a pharmaceutical. It's an herb. And so here we go. We went through 5073, we went through 5955, and now we're on House Bill 2827, which you still find the same things in Section 2 of this that has that breach in the doctor-patient relationship. In Section 4, it's talking about the collective gardens. It's talking about Like here in section 1A, a collective garden may have no more than 10 members. Uh, Contribution by members may not be solely monetary. No more than one collective garden is permitted per property tax parcel. A collective garden may contain no more than 15 plants per member of up to a total of 45 plants. So how does 10 members gather or combined equal only 45 plants? If each member gets 15 plants, wouldn't that be 150 plants? They're limiting it to 45 plants. I mean, there's just all these little weird, you know, hiccups in here that I think are going to hurt patients, hurt doctors, and hurt providers. And so I reject this one too. And I'm not just trying to be, you know, a thorn in the side of medical marijuana in Washington. I helped get signatures for Initiative 692 back in 98, 97. You know, when we passed that in 98, I got a few signatures in 97, and I was all about it. I'm in favor of that, and I believe that's still better than what we're getting proposed with this new stuff. I don't agree with this new stuff, and I'm disappointed that the CDC, the WCA, the ACLU, all these people are coming out in favor of rescheduling cannabis. It's the same thing that the prohibitionists are coming out in favor of. You know, the prohibitionists have, I just wrote a couple of blogs about it here in, what was it, like May 13th on xcannabis.com about these prohibitionists that are cops that are saying, yeah, let's reschedule it. You know, let's make it a pharmaceutical. Well, tell me, how many mom and pop pharmacies exist today? It's too expensive. It's only the big corporate conglomerates that are selling pharmaceutical drugs now. So when we make it a pharmaceutical, how many of these people who are in favor of rescheduling are actually going to be able to participate in it? How many mom and pop companies are in business of manufacturing pharmaceuticals? I'll guarantee you there's zero. All right, so you know the manufacturing and the sale of pharmaceuticals does not belong to we the people. It belongs to the big corporations. And I'll just read you the names of these two cops that testified in the hearing for 5955 that were saying, yeah, let's reschedule cannabis. And it's the same thing that the CDC and everybody else are saying. You know, it's ridiculous. Let's see, I posted it on May 13th, and this was basically my last post. Um, yeah, and it's titled "The Prohibitionists Are Calling for Rescheduling Cannabis." And I didn't have a lot to say about SB 5955 because it was basically the same thing as before. Apparently now we're not getting hit up with a registration with a registry. Which why would we need to register for being patients? That's stupid. I mean, what other patients or what other medications require you to register with the cops in the state? It's just stupid. Yeah, it was Don Pierce and John Snazza, which both represent the sheriff's department. They're both cops. They're both trying to preserve their jobs, and they're both saying, "Yeah, let's reschedule cannabis." Of course, they want it to be rescheduled. They still want cannabis to be a crime. Why would they want cannabis to, be removed from drug scheduling, which is how I approach this. That's why we support the National Initiative for Democracy, because I believe that we need to take, the Controlled Substances Act down or remove cannabis from it completely. And we don't have any way to address that federally right now. That's the crime that I see, is that, we're stuck with whatever the legislature gives us, and that's why all these groups are like, oh yeah, let's support the legislators. They're trying to help us. No, they aren't. They've got people's back to scratch. They've got corporate donors that are contributing to their campaigns. They've got people to please. They're not out for our best interest. If that was the fact, they would just remove cannabis from the schedule, from the Controlled Substances Act. Ron Paul, this is a good news right here. Ron Paul introduces HR 1831, the Industrial Farming Act, or the Industrial Hemp Farming Act. This is good, and I hope to see Ron Paul get elected as president. But still, I don't see any national referendum. I think we need to support the National Initiative for Democracy so that we have a way to address grievances of our government directly. So we don't have to wait for representative government to get on our side, because most of the time they are not. Ron Paul, I believe, is one of few that is on our side. Most of them don't have our best interests in mind. Most of them have corporate donors, other politicians to please, favors to give, favors to return. They're not out for our best interests. So I don't trust representative government to do what's right for us. I think we need a way to have a ballot initiatives on a national level, just like we do on state levels. But even at that, there's only 24 states that have a ballot initiative process. So that doesn't make sense either to wait on the states to do it because 26 states can't even hold a ballot initiative. So that's why we only have 15 states with medical marijuana, is because more states can't jump on board because they're prevented. So we need to, find a way to redress grievances directly without waiting for our representatives to do it. Because just like with these hearings that I've seen with 5073 and 5955, they're like, oh, there's too many dispensaries. Oh, there's too many recommends. Oh, we need to, restrict these people and regulate these people. And, that's what their whole agenda is on these bills. So I'm just tired of people supporting it. I don't mean to make enemies. I don't care if I do make enemies. I'm not here to please people. I'm not here to kiss anybody's ass. I don't care if the CDC don't like me. I don't care if the WCA don't like me. I don't care if the ASA don't like me. I don't care if the Spokane designated provider don't like me, if he wants to call me a propagandist or self-promotionalist. I don't care about Indicare if they don't like me. I mean, these are all people that I've donated directly to. I mean, the two that I just mentioned, the Spokane designated provider and Spokane Indicare, I gave them things, didn't ask them for anything in return, just to promote the cause of Initiative 1149. And then because I'm not supportive of these stupid House bills, or because I don't like the way the ASA treats people in their movement, I'm going to be, personally insulted and screamed at and even threatened. And I can prove that. I got threatened, physically threatened, by one of the two. And I just think it's retarded the way that, people come at me. And Spokane designated provider, I don't mind. We can go, we can knuckle up anytime. That's fine with me. But I just think it's, kind of cowardly that the guy threatens me after I leave Washington. I mean, I went down there. We had words before. I went down there, talked to him face to face. He never had any knuckles to, exchange at that point. So, why threaten me after I leave Washington? I just think it's a joke. I just think anybody, who has to threaten violence in a conversation of principles and politics, anybody that has to offer violence or threats, I think that's so stupid. I listened to a lot of things by Normal. Well, very few things actually. Washington Normal really didn't have a lot to offer this year, but I did hear an interview of Kevin Oliver and Allison Holcomb and Russ Belville on April 11th, 2011. And I've went back and forth with Kevin for a long time. He didn't use his real name, and he would send me insults. He would say, "Well, a lot of the things that you said about this aren't even coming true. Your prophecies are failing, Reverend Ryan," and blah blah blah. And that's like, now that we look back at it, everything that I said about SB 5073 did come true. I talked about how it was going to screw the dispensaries. That's what it ended up doing. If it would have passed, it would have totally screwed the dispensaries. I said that it was going to screw up the doctor-patient relationship. Section 301 did that. All these things that I said wasn't a prophecy. I was just paying attention. I was watching the hearings and listening to what the senators and the representatives were saying, and their whole goal from the get-go seemed to me like they didn't want this industry, this market, to proceed any further. They wanted to restrict it and regulate it. And so, if you want to call them prophecies, that's fine. The prophecies came true. But I just think they were political commentary. And it wasn't hard to diagnose. I mean, you can listen to my radio shows back from the beginning of this. You can go to sentilife.com, or you can go to Blog Talk Radio /SentiLife and listen to all of my broadcasts on this. And I wasn't, trying to be hysterical. I was just giving commentary. I was just like, come on, people, show some resistance. Don't just submit to these things. These things are out to screw you. I said, don't just, fall over and play dead. Tell the senators you don't like them. Tell them as Washington voters they're going to lose their job if they keep screwing your rights. I mean, that's what it comes down to. They represent us. We don't work for them. We're not their peasants. They're not our lords. They work for us. We pay their salaries. We elect them. They're our employees, and we can tell them no. And I don't feel a bit bad